Hey there, it's Andrea, and welcome to the Voice of Influence podcast, where we focus on how you can help shape the future because your voice matters. And here's the catch 22 on that statement. If your voice matters, so does your neighbors, so does your teammates, so does the voice of the people around you. So that's the reason why we talk about helping shape the future, not dictating the future, not having complete control over the future, but navigating the complexity between letting go of the things that we cannot control while at the same time taking ownership of the things that we can and putting ourselves out there, sharing our ideas, asking other people for ideas, contributing to conversations, but also facilitating good conversations. That's what this show is about. Okay, so today we're going to talk about mentorship because we published a mentorship guide and journal. And I have talked about this before, but I have not shown it to you. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more. I'm going to show it to you a little bit more. If you're watching on video, you can actually see it. And then we're also going to talk about an article that I wrote for Forbes. And that's where we're going to start today. So the article for Forbes is called Mentorship as a Strategic Advantage, a Low-Cost, High-Impact Approach. So first of all, why is it high impact? Why is mentorship so important? There are 3 reasons to implement a mentorship program in your company. Number 1, it enhances employee development. We know that 68% of small business owners find Gen Zers to be the least reliable of all their employees. We've heard it over and over. You probably heard me talk about it over and over. Gen Z is struggling with a few things, and certainly their brand is struggling with a few things. But there's so much potential in this group of young people. And they're very, very similar to every other group of young people that has come before them. And what do they need more than anything? They need people to show them the ropes. They need people to let them know what's normal, what's not normal. Think about it for yourself. Who showed you the ropes? Who is somebody that really kind of, either through observation or through mentorship, through management, working with somebody, how did you learn what you know about working in your company? More than likely, somebody helped you out along the way because we all need that. It's actually one of the beautiful things about being a human. Because we mentor our young. We help each other out. Not only that, younger generations bring a new perspective to older generations, and that is how this world works. That's how we keep moving forward. So mentorship helps develop younger employees so they learn important skills like professional communication, networking, and professional representation of themselves and their company. This is all very important, but it's not necessarily innate. If they didn't grow up in a family where that was a big deal, or they didn't have previous work experience, which a lot of young adults who are coming into the workforce right now haven't had a lot of experience working in offices because of COVID. And so rather than blaming them or just being frustrated about them, mentorship and establishing a mentorship program right now could be such a benefit to your team. Number 2, it boosts employee engagement and retention. So we know that 83% of Gen Z workers believe that having a workforce mentor is crucial for their career. They want to be mentored. Younger people want to learn from the people who have been around for a while and know the ropes and can help them out. They long for that. So it boosts that employee engagement and retention. And if they are involved in a mentor relationship, they're more likely to stay. So keep that in mind. They're more likely to stay, but also more likely to become the person that you're hoping they will be for the company and for themselves, for their professional career. And that's the kind of person, the person that wants to learn, that wants to grow. That's the kind of person you want to keep around. Number 3, it fosters a culture of learning and collaboration. I'm just going to read part of this from my article. It can be difficult to know how to relate to someone who is different from you. Intentional mentorship programs provide an opportunity for cross-generational relationship building. In turn, this impacts the level of trust and respect among those involved, fostering a supportive work environment and opening the door for continuous learning and growth for everyone. So, mentorship programs are a low-cost way to make the most of the expertise that's already in your building and help transfer that knowledge, that wisdom, and the culture of your company, while at the same time reinvigorating people, making connections, helping people to feel like their voice matters, both the mentor and the mentee. All right, 3 keys now to a successful mentorship program. Number 1, make it clear that mentorship is a value and a priority for the company. So the first thing you got to do is make sure that everybody understands that we are taking a strategic focus on mentorship. Now, if you don't want to do a full-blown program, which I'll explain how that's actually much simpler to create than you might think. But if you don't want to do a program, but you just see that maybe some folks in your company could benefit from mentorship or might be willing to mentor other people, then you letting them know that this is a priority for you and why it made a difference for you and how you see it making a difference for the company, that's going to free people up to feel like, okay, this is important. It's not just important to me. It doesn't just feel important, but it's going to be recognized. It's something that we see as a company as an important thing for us. Number 2, the second key to a successful mentorship program, create a clear structure. All right. I'm not talking about something crazy. I'm talking about having a goal. So like, how many people do you want to engage in mentorship in the next 12 months period? Having content. What exactly are you hoping that people will cover? What gaps are you seeing that it's not really something that you would learn in a skills workshop or a team dynamics workshop, but it's something that has to do with the way that we're relating to one another, professionalism in the workplace and that sort of thing. What kind of those skills are you wanting people to cover? Pairing up. How will mentors and mentees pair up? What is your thought on that? Know how much time you think that should be allotted to this, because the way that it's going to work best is if they have a little bit of time during the day that will help them to do it, or if you want them to use lunchtime and just encourage them that this is part of their employee development that they can capitalize on, then that's up to you. So what frequency and duration should the allotted sessions be? And what is the kind of the clear start and end date of the relationship? And this is something that's important anytime you go into a mentorship relationship, to have a little bit of formality around how that's going to play out and when is it going to be over. You don't want to get into a mentorship relationship that goes on and on and on forever. Instead, give it a certain amount of time, 9 months, 12 months, and say, let's do it for this long. Let's do it for a year. And then at that point in time, we'll just see where we're at. And if it's time for you to move on and you to mentor somebody else, or we want to keep getting together, maybe that'll be the answer too. But by giving it a clear start and end date, it gives you a chance to reevaluate and take away some of the awkwardness that could come from wanting to end the mentorship relationship. And then accountability. What is the mechanism for accountability to ensure that the time is well spent? If it's time that they're taking out of their workday, then you probably want to make sure that there's some focus and direction with that time. Not that you want to prescribe a certain kind of conversation or direct every moment of that conversation, but making sure that it actually carries some weight with it and actually helps everybody involved. All right, the third key to a successful mentorship program is equipping mentors and mentees with the right tools. And here's what I suggest. This is based on all of our years doing mentorship programs within our leadership development programs, seeing mentorship take place, being a mentor, having mentors, having talked to people about this topic over the years. Okay, so here are some good tools that would help. A list of willing mentors makes it easy for mentees to reach out and ask someone to be their mentor. So if you're going to start a program, then collect names of people that would be good mentors. Recruit them if you want, or give them a chance to self-select and tell you that they want to be a part of your program. But putting their names and their positions and time zones, or all those little different things that might depend on your particular company, but you put those on the list, that gives people who want to be mentored a chance to look at that list and say, okay, phew, these people have already given their permission to reach out to them. Because it is hard to commit to mentorship, and it's hard to ask for mentorship. I've been on the receiving end of both of those things, and both of those can be very difficult. And sometimes you have to say no, or sometimes you just don't ask because you don't want to be a bother to somebody. So having that list helps tremendously. Having a kickoff meeting checklist. So what needs to be discussed and what expectations do we really need to set in that first meeting? That's important. Having a mentorship guide helps kickstart conversation and ensures that required topics are covered. So you can create your own guide, or you can use one that's been created for you. I just flashed through the book again. And an expectation for documentation. So if you're going to do this in your company and you want to have a mentorship program in your company, having some documentation that, yeah, this mentorship actually took place, and these are some key things that we covered and key takeaways that we got out of it, that is going to help bring some accountability to that process. Then finally, a certificate of completion for both the mentor and mentee. This helps acknowledge all of their investment in their professional development and the success of the company. It's a simple gesture that can mean a lot to people. It also can be something that they bring to the table when it comes to their annual reviews, or their desire for promotion, or their career portfolio. Knowing that you've actually completed a program like this is it's significant. It makes a difference. It says something about you as a mentee. It also says something about the mentor and how they're interested in helping pay it forward, helping develop the next generation of leaders and people in their company. All right. So that's the gist of that article that I wrote for Forbes. Again, the title, if you're wanting to look it up, I'll put it in the show notes. The title is Mentorship as a Strategic Advantage, a Low-Cost, High-Impact Approach. Let me tell you just a little bit more about this guide. It's called Set Up for Success at Work, a practical mentorship guide and journal for mentors and mentees. This is a simple thing. Okay, so it's a guide and a journal. So we're not talking a lot about a ton of content here, okay? What this book does is, I'll take you to the first example. So first of all, it gives a welcome and explains some foundational principles for good mentorship and the relationship between a mentor and a mentee. It's very short, though. We're not trying to overwhelm people with this, okay? And then it talks about building a strong foundation in that first session. And it offers some, it offers space. It offers some questions and space to write your answers down. So the way that I envision this is that each person would have their own book. They would go over their small chapter and get an idea of what they want to say. There's some questions specifically for mentors. There's questions specifically for mentees. It gives you a chance to look at it ahead of time and figure out what you want to say. Some people really appreciate knowing what we're going to talk about before we get there. And then there's a challenge. There's a challenge for the session, and you can use the challenge. You can go for it and set some new goals or expectations or have an idea that you want to act on. But that gives you and it gives both the mentor and the mentee a chance to do something specific and see actionable results. Then the idea behind this book is that you can choose from any number of the chapters and do them in whatever order you want. Or if you so choose, and if you're wanting to establish a mentorship program and do this with the book, then you could look at the topics and pick the ones that you really want them to cover. Or the mentor mentee can make a decision at the beginning of the ones that they think are most important to them. Or they can choose as they go, like this one is the next one that I really want to tackle because this is something that I'm struggling with right now, something that I want to learn. So it gives plenty of flexibility to the people going through the program. The chapters themselves are just a few pages long. So they give an example from history. So we start with an example from history. This one in particular I'm looking at says professional communication in the workplace, and it gives an example from Maya Angelou and includes a quote from her, and it just sort of sets the topic up. If you have ever had a devotional, this is kind of the mindset that I had when we were making this, was let's make this into kind of like a devotional where you have like a narrative that kind of gives you something to set up the topics. And then it gives you questions that you can think through or work on together, and ends with a challenge of some kind. What am I going to do with what I just discussed? What am I going to do with what I just learned? And so most of these chapters are very short and easy to go through. And then that also gives people the opportunity to talk about whatever else they want to talk about. So if you're talking about communication in the workplace, you can talk about it for 20 minutes from this book, and then you can talk about whatever other issues have come up that would make sense to talk about in a mentorship relationship. So I wanted to share that with you. The other piece that I want to share with you is that we also have a way for you to keep track of the mentorship relationship and the different topics that are covered. You keep track of it on a PDF that we provide. Then you send that PDF back to us with a form, and we will provide the mentor and the mentee with their certificate of completion. So this is self-reported, but my guess is that if somebody is going to do the work to actually fill out the little form that we have for them, that they're probably pretty reliable folks. So for under $10, you can purchase one of these books. And for under $20, you can purchase two of these so that the mentor and the mentee has their own book. Oh, by the way, at the end, there are journal pages that give space for journaling, as well as some inspirational quotes from yours truly. And I really wanted to share this with you and help you to know that I'm thinking of you. I really see so many people inside of companies that have so much wisdom to share. And while that's not one's primary job most of the time, if you can set up a system that helps people, sort of gives them permission and a little bit of structure to help them be able to reach out to one another for help, to help them be able to pass on a legacy in the company, then it can make a big difference. That's the reason why it's a strategic advantage, but that's also the reason why it's a low cost, high impact approach. So, would love for you to check this out at setupforsuccessatwork.com. And there you can sign up for the bonuses, get your certificate if that is complete, and learn more about package deals as well. So this book is available on Amazon and you can go get it there if you just want to buy a couple. But if you're interested in promoting this in your company, then we have deals for you. So you can purchase a 20-book bundle for $150 from Voice of Influence and receive a cheat sheet for setting up a mentorship program in your company. Or you can purchase a 100-book bundle for $700 from Voice of Influence and receive a consultation for setting up that mentorship program in your company, as well as the checklist and a 45-minute kickoff webinar with me. So I would love to do a webinar with your company and inspire people to go do mentorship, be mentored, and build continuous learning and growth in the culture of your company. Go to setupforsuccessatwork.com, and that's where you can find all that information. You can always email me at andrea@voiceofinfluence.net, and I will personally respond. Let's make the most of the wisdom and expertise that's already in your company. And let's set people up for success at work.